What's happening, fishing friends? Welcome to another episode. Today we're looking at a brand new baitcaster on the market, the Lew's LFS KVD Baitcaster. If you didn't know, Kevin Van Dam joined the Lew's team this year, 2020, arguably one of the best professional bass fishermen ever. So to put his name on a baitcaster, to me, it needs to hold up to that name. Lew's has stated that they want to bring tour level performance into a baitcaster that won't break the bank. So coming in at $139.99, we'll discuss whether or not this reel does just that. So as always, we'll discuss the features of the reel, we'll compare it to similar reels on the market, and we'll discuss what I feel are the pros and cons of this new baitcaster. So enough yapping, let's go over to the tabletop and take a closer look at this reel. Okay, starting off, the reel does have an aluminum frame. It does have graphite side plates, but that aluminum frame helps so much in negating that torque and twist and kind of misalignment that you get when you have an all graphite reel. So once you start getting over $100, to me that's a given. You need to have at least an aluminum frame. Once you get even higher, you're going to see things like magnesium, titanium coated, you know, all these different crazy things, but at least an aluminum frame. Now this has a 34 millimeter aluminum spool, which holds 120 yards of 12-pound mono. So pretty average, I'd say kind of that's your average normal line capacity. This reel weighs in at 7.2 ounces and comes in 3 different gear ratios, 6.2, which is what I have here, the standard 7.5 to 1 that you see in Lew's a lot, and 8.3 to 1. So those bring in either 25 inches per turn, 31 or 35 inches per turn. So from the 6.2 to 1 to the 8.3 to 1, you're bringing in 10 more inches of line per every 1 turn of the reel. Now this does have the P2 supported pinion gear, so when I take this off, getting the side plate off is easy. You just pull this little bar out, twist this deal up here, and that comes off. And you can see on the inside, oh, we're going to talk about that soon, but this does have the P2 supported pinion gear. My line's stuck in there. And the way you can test that is, what that means is they've got a bearing in there supporting that pinion gear. So that's what turns against your main gear and turns that spool. So you can see there when I turn this, there's no sound at all. It spins like normal. So that gear is completely supported. Now, when I compare that against something like my old LFS that does not have that in there, you're going to hear a grindy, clicky, almost like it doesn't even want to turn. See how that's rubbing against the sides, making that weird noise? It's not supported. So that pinion gear in there can kind of move and twist. Now, since we have this open, we might as well talk about it. This has a dual braking system, so they call it that multi-setting brake, which is the external magnetic. You can see there on the side plate, the 5 little magnets inside there. But on the inside, check out this, and I love what they did. They put off, so if you have these click down, like you can see these here, they don't move. Those are off. Now when you click it up, as you can see there, it shows up is on. So when that little brake pad moves, you can see that moving at the top of the screen there. That little guy coming out there, that little gray piece up there by the top of my thumb, that's the centrifugal brake, and that's going to rub on the inside of this brass ring right here. So centrifugal force is going to take those brake pads, push them out, and that's going to give you extra braking power. So I like that they labeled it on these little type of brakes that you push out and push in. I don't know that I've ever seen another company do that. I think 13 and maybe some others have the ones where you click inside and it's labeled, but these little deals like this, like Shimano, for example, they don't put that. So not a knock against Shimano or anything, but I think it's cool that they did that for people. I don't know how many folks I've talked to who always get confused on these. Do you click them in or out? I don't know. Well, with this, you know. If you're really concerned about bearings, this does have a 9+1, so a 10 total bearing system. 20 pounds of carbon fiber drag, which I like. I believe the regular LFS now has 15. They upgraded that over the one I have, but this one puts out 20 pounds of drag. I like that. You should be able to lock that baby down and not have a bunch of movement. It does have a drag that is carbon, but it does click. Same thing for the spool tension. It does click. It does have a 95 millimeter handle with EVA knobs. That's kind of interesting. I've seen Lew's doing that more. It used to always be this paddle type. That's what you got kind of on everything, but they've started to go over to those wind grips, and now on a few of them, like that custom light that I have, and this one with the EVA grips. Now this does also have the bait keeper on the bottom side here. You flip that out. I thought it was kind of corny at first, but I kind of like it. It doesn't matter what kind of rod you have. You can just take your jig or whatever, hook it on there, and you're good to go. Keeps your bait for you. When you're done with it, clip it down. It's out of the way. Okay, so now that we've gone over all the features on this, how does this compare to some similar reels? Well, for example, you take the regular Lew's LFS, arguably one of the best around $100. It's a little workhorse. What are you getting? Well, you're getting the dual brake system. So instead of just having magnetic like on here, you get the magnetic and centrifugal. You get the little bait keeper deal there. You get the EVA knobs. A decent amount more drag than this one. I think the, like I said, these have 15 now, the regular LFS. You're getting 20 on this one. So some decent little upgrades for, essentially $40 more. How about this Lew's Laser Pro? This is $120 reel. Well, this one you've got both the internal centrifugal and the external magnetic, which is nice, but this comes with a graphite frame and side plate. So for $10 more on this guy, you're getting a full aluminum frame. This is a Cabela's Bass Pro Shops exclusive. I think they now even call it the something XT, or I don't know. It's the Laser Pro. Whatever the one that Bass Pro Shops has is, I think this is white now. 120 bucks. I got this one for like $70 on sale. Wait for the sale for 70 bucks. It's been a great reel. No big issues with it, except I notice when you hold the handle back, there's a decent amount of play in the spool. Now, it hasn't affected. I've actually used this for Texas rigs. I haven't had an issue with the slipping or drag slipping. I keep it locked down, but I notice there's a decent amount of play in that spool. With this one, it does feel like it's a little bit better made. There's only a little bit of play there, and there's always going to be a little bit, but you don't want a whole bunch of slop there. So that's something I like. The aluminum frame, it's going to be a little bit more sturdy. Now, how about switching brands? What happens when you go over to the Tatula CT? This is a new guy. You're going to be seeing a review on this soon, but with this one, the big thing I notice is the size. When you look at these two compared side by side, look at how much longer this Tatula CT is. It's definitely a longer reel this way, so that may be something that some folks like, or some folks don't like when you're holding a reel. If you don't want a real long, frame, probably isn't going to be for you. I noticed this is a shorter, a little bit more compact feel in the hand. I think it fits kind of the average person better, unless you've got really big hands. Maybe this is better, but I think this is just a good all-around frame size and fit. Now the Tatula, it's the exact same weight. This does have the Mag Force, only the external magnetic brakes, but it's a brake system that works. So if you want more adjustability, maybe going over to something like this. This only does have the 90mm handle, and they've went to these silly little small rubber handles Daiwa did. I personally don't like those at all. I like the old Daiwa handles. Not a fan of these, so I definitely like the EVA better than these little skinny rubber ones. And of course, with the Tatula, you get that T-wing system. I know some people are a real big fan of that. It's supposed to help with casting distance. As you push this lever down, it expands that and it gives the line all the room to move. Opposed to most reels, it's got a smaller little line guide there that rubs against the line and decreases casting distance. I don't know. Haven't done any tests, but those are just a few differences. Then if you go over to the SLX XT, again, pretty much the same weight. Now this is a 12-pound, 110-yard capacity, so a little bit smaller spool. And as you can see side by side, pretty close to the same size. The XT is maybe just a little bit smaller, just a hair. I guess that probably gives the best comparison right there. A little bit smaller frame here, a little bit more compact. So if you have smaller hands or you want just a little bit more compact feel in your hand, maybe this is the way you want to go. Now this reel only has centrifugal brakes. Now you can turn on and turn off different brakes inside here, but those centrifugal brakes are also controlled on the outside. So it's kind of your micro adjustment out here. But again, you have to open it up if you want to get to it. So something that both of these have, you have to open them up if you want to reach their full braking potential. So enough of the specs and comparisons. Let's take this over and go look at some of the pros and cons. Starting out with the pros. Overall, I think castability is really nice on it. It casts easy and smooth. You also have the adjustability, like I showed you over there, of two different brake types on this, the external magnetic and those internal centrifugal. Now I know some of the purists will say you only need one. Adding two is just a way to get more money, or the Baitcaster is not good enough or whatever. The Shimano guys will swear by the centrifugal brakes. Some folks swear by the ease of use of magnetic brakes. So you're going to hear a lot of different things out there, but for me personally using this, I always try to do an honest review of the product itself, not other people's opinions or that kind of stuff. For me, setting this and using it has been very good. I haven't had a backlash with it. And I think the two brake systems does give you a little bit of extra added adjustment that sometimes maybe you wouldn't have if you had just a magnetic system. You wanted a little bit more in that initial burst. that's where those centrifugal brakes come into play. So it really depends on the person, but I feel like with this bait caster, it is a pro. This happens to be the same brake setup that's on the Mock Crush, which is actually a reel that's $20 more than this one, that has a graphite frame and side plates. Really the exact same reel. This one is for $20 less, and it casts great. The Mock Crush does cast really well, but like I said, here you're getting an aluminum frame. The next good thing about it, I don't feel like it's, you know, a cheap reel. Some of the reels you pick up and they just feel like straight plastic. This feels good and solid in the hand. You know, when I grab it, everything feels good there. I also noticed when you take the handle and push it backwards and test this, there's not a lot of movement there in that anti-reverse. Now, some of the cheaper bait casters, you do that and there's a bunch of play in there. It just feels real squishy. This one, it doesn't feel that way. It feels good in the hand. You know, it's not a $500 reel, but for being at $139, it feels solid. It feels good. It's not a weird shape. There's nothing odd about it. Just kind of all around a good feel in the hand. So I guess you'd say it's a good middle of the road. You know, some of the reels can be a little bit longer here, like I talked about the Tatula. Some of the reels feel kind of short. You know, they try to really cram it down, and somebody with a little bit bigger hands, that's just not comfortable. And when I hold this one, you know, when I've got the rod trigger there, when I'm holding this here, everything feels very comfortable, very palmable, feels really good in hand. So I think it's one of those reels that's a good, happy medium. It's not too big, it's not too small. I think it'll fit a lot of hand types well. So now jumping over to the cons, funny enough, we're gonna come back to the brake system. I know a lot of folks that only want a reel that has adjustments on the outside. If they have to open the side plate, risk losing it, or just being out on the water and having to do anything other than this, they don't want it. Now for me, I've used all kinds. I've used like my regular SLX. You have to take the side plate off to get into those centrifugal brakes. So even some of the higher end reels, you have to do that. Some people hate that. They just want the external adjustment. Whether it's centrifugal or magnetic, they don't care. They just don't want to have to take a side plate off, fiddle with that, mess around with it. They just want external. So to get the most value out of this, you could technically leave the side plate on and not touch the centrifugal, but to get the most value, you're going to want to use both brakes working together. So if you're somebody that does not, for any reason, want to take the side plate off to adjust brakes, this might not be the reel for you. Honestly, after using it for a month, I haven't really found any other negatives to it. Now, maybe if you wanted like a 5-speed reel for cranking, it doesn't come in that. The only other thing I can really think of is those EVA kind of paddle knobs. I know some people like the flat loose knobs so they can put you know, external grips on it. Some people, you know, it's just a matter of choice, don't like the EVA at all. So that's really the only other thing I can think of, but that's just personal choice. That's up to you. So for me, that's really the only thing I've found that, you know, if you don't want to take the side plate off, otherwise it's been comfortable, it's fished well, it's a reel that I could hold all day in my hand without an issue with it. It's not grindy, it's not clicky. Now, you know, maybe after a year of use that would change, but so far that I've used it, I've been very happy with it. So comment below and let me know what you think of this reel. Do you like it? You don't like it? Any sort of feedback for me? Comment below and let me know. Or if there's another reel that you really want to see reviewed, like I said, the SLX DC's coming up soon. I've got another new Lew's reel out on the market. That Daiwa Tatula CT, that one's going to be going. I've got a number of reels coming up, so if there's a specific one you want to see, comment below and let me know. Now tonight's subscribed fishing friend is Eric Delfos or Delfossi. I hope I'm saying that right. Thank you, sir, for watching and commenting. I appreciate you a bunch, and thank you, everybody else. I say it at the end of every video, but it's because I mean it. Thank you all so much for supporting. We're almost at 100K. It's crazy. I can't believe it. Some dude in Iowa with a half mullet looking haircut is almost at 100,000. Crazy. Thank you all so much. It means a lot to me, but I've still got to get this edited. So thank you all very much for watching. And until next time.